What's up, VC? What's up, vinyl community? It's Dan hanging out with you, the Vinyl Geezer, for at least one more video. Hopefully, you guys had a great week and great weekend. As we start to wind down here on a Sunday evening, I thought I would do a video where I would showcase 11 records from 1983 that are some of my favorites. This list was inspired by a record from 1983 that is not one of my favorites. Actually, it's a challenging record. It's a hard one for me to get into. I was out record shopping, and I want to say this was last year with my friend Josh. And he's like, hey man, I love this record. You should pick this up. It's like $12. And it's one that I've been avoiding because I never really could quite get into it. I thought, okay, I'm going to dive in. I'm just going to dive in head first. I'm going to buy this record. I know it sounds good. And I know the people that are playing on it are quite amazing. It's just one that has been very challenging for me, and it's just one that I just can't get to absorb. And it was the inspiration. Let's talk about a little bit about the final cut. Pink Floyd, maybe. Roger Waters, for sure. Nick Mason is on here. David Gilmour is on here. Roger Waters is on here. Richard Wright is not on here. The keyboardist for Pink Floyd. So, is this a Pink Floyd record? I don't know. Why don't you guys comment below and let me know if it's a Pink Floyd record or not? What do you think? Do you think this is a Pink Floyd record? Do you think this is an easy record to listen to? It's not for me. It's quite difficult. It sounds really good. There's some hot points on this album that are pretty good, but all in all, man, this one, I'm not getting rid of it. It's staying right where it is. It's in phenomenal condition. I gave like $12 for it, so, there's no complaining about it. It was a bargain at $12. And, if you're wanting to be a completist, you gotta have the final cut right. Maybe. I don't know. It's one that I'd been avoiding. Found a nice, beautifully clean copy. And I love the artwork on this. I love the sound of it. I love David Gilmour's playing. I'm a huge Roger Waters fan. My friend Josh and I went and saw Roger Waters. What was that, 5 years ago in St. Louis? It was a phenomenal show. I mean, we were way up in the nosebleed, but it didn't matter. I mean, it was great. It was a phenomenal show. Roger Waters puts on one heck of a show, and it was a lot of fun. I dig Roger Waters, just not really a big fan of the final cut. So you guys let me know in the comments below. Am I crazy? Am I insane? Is there something I'm missing? What should I do? If you guys have any tips, this has been one of the most challenging records in my collection. And it's one of the only challenging records that stayed in my collection. So, Dio's Sacred Heart. That was also a very challenging record for me, which we're going to be talking about Dio here in a few. But that one no longer has a place in my collection. But anyway, moving forward, let's talk about some albums that are some of my favorites from 1983. They turned 40 this year, turned the big 4-0. Over the hill? Maybe. I don't know. They still kick ass. All right. What is this? Is this Burning Bridges? Is this Naked Eyes? Naked Eyes? This is the American version. Really wish I could get a hold of a European version of this. It was called Burning Bridges. Has a completely different track list. Well, I mean, the tracks are all the same, but they're in different order. And it's got a different cover. And it's been one that I keep wanting to import. But anyway, Naked Eyes. What do you say about this record? This is an awesome synth pop record. This is a pure, perfect synth pop record. It just hardly gets any better. I've got a needle drop of Promises on my channel, so you might want to check that out. And I mean, I remember this video for Always Something There to Remind Me when I was a kid. And it was the first time I had heard it. I never heard the Burt Bacharach version. And in my mind, this is the ultimate version of There's Always Something There to Remind Me. Yes, I just threw Burt Bacharach under the bus. The raindrops are falling on his head, right? So anyway, great record. Fortune and Fame, Emotion and Motion, Promises, Low Life, the song Burning Bridges. Just this whole thing. It's great from start to finish. So, Naked Eyes turns 40 this year. Came out in 1983. Let's keep moving. This record is friggin' awesome. I paid $1 for this back in 2013 at a antique store. And that's Yes's 90125. I always want to say 90210. Yes's 90125. And I got to be honest, guys, I bought this originally just because of Owner of a Lonely Heart, and it was $1. And I fell in love with this record. It's one of the best of the prog pop, prog rock, whatever you want to call it, of the 80s. It's kind of up there with Yes. Or, not Yes, this is Yes. It's kind of up there with Asia, their self-titled debut, Rush's Power Windows. It's kind of got that sound to it. That 80s gloss sound. Really dig it. Really dig the prog elements of it. And that 80s gloss that's on it. I know that some people dislike that 80s gloss. I kind of dig it. Anyway, that turns 40 this year. So, this next one. Kind of a darker record. Probably maybe the darkest record of all of their records. That's Tears for Fears, The Hurting. This is the American version. The European version has a different cover. So you're seeing kind of a theme here. These are the American versions. Suffer the Children is on here. Is that right? Am I saying that right? The Hurting. Mad World is on here. Pale Shelter is on here. Pale Shelter is one of the greatest Tears for Fears songs. So, Tears for Fears, The Hurting. 1983 release, turns 40 this year. This next album, this was gifted to me by a friend. This is some VCLT. Mike gave this to me, and I'm not sure he'd want me to say his last name, but on one of the Facebook groups, he gifted this to me, and that's U2's Under a Blood Red Sky. And kind of recently discovered this album, maybe a few years ago when he sent it to me. I was really starting to get into early U2, and this is one of the best live albums that I have in my collection. It's got some ringwear on it. I like that ringwear. I kind of dig ringwear. I kind of find it aesthetically pleasing in a way. But this is phenomenal. The version of 40 on here is mind-blowing. Gloria. Just phenomenal stuff. From U2. Under a Blood Red Sky, live at Red Rocks, 1983, that was released. So, 40 years old this year. All right, let me see here. This album was all over the... Man, this album kind of plays like a greatest hits record, especially side one of The Police's Synchronicity. This turns 40 this year, out in 1983. This is... I actually found one of the Quiex versions of this, the translucent vinyl versions. Apparently they sound better. This sounds pretty good, I'll tell you that. I mean, it's translucent purple, but yeah, what a phenomenal record. I mean, just from start to finish, and so many different variations of the colors on this record. Anyway, The Police Synchronicity turns 40 years old this year. All right, now we're getting into... We're starting to span some genres. We're gonna be starting to get a little heavier. So just FYI, this one was lucky enough to find. And these next two, I want to talk about these next two. I kind of find I found these like around Christmas time. It seems like I always find like kind of a punky album around Christmas time that I've been looking for. And this one was a few years ago. Violent Femmes, and their debut album, Violent Femmes. This is great stuff. I mean, this also plays like a greatest hits record. This has all the songs on it. As, you know, some of you might know this record. It's phenomenal from start to finish. Their follow-up to this, Hallowed Ground, is great as well. I want to say that's their follow-up. But this one, this is pure gold right here. And got lucky, found a first pressing of this. I know that Kraft did a reissue of this. It's pretty good too, from what I hear. But this is the only one I have. Violent Femmes. That's right. Their self-titled debut album from 1983. Turns 40 this year. Okay. Ooh. This next one. Self-titled debut album, 1983, also found at Christmas time, an original of Suicidal Tendencies. Suicidal Tendencies. This is just phenomenal all the way through. I don't know. What is this? Is this hardcore? Hardcore punk? I don't know what you'd call it. I just love Suicidal Tendencies. I even like their later thrash stuff, and I know Vinyl Richie would probably clothesline me for saying that, but you know, I like stuff beyond Join the Army as well. So Suicidal Tendencies, one of the bands in my youth, but this album is just a straight banger all the way through. Their self-titled debut album turns 40 years old this year. Phenomenal stuff. Mike Muir and the gang. Suicidal Tendencies there. All right. Another album that turns 40 this year, which when I was a kid, I saw this album cover and it freaked me out, and I just thought it was freaking awesome. And I mean, like all of his, and I told you we'd be talking about Dio. This one, Holy Diver. That's right. Holy Diver turns 40 this year. Vivian Campbell, phenomenal stuff with Dio here. Rainbow in the Dark, Holy Diver, whole freaking album is awesome. This and Last in Line, you can't go wrong with either of those records. So, yeah. Holy Diver turns 40 this year. One of my favorite groups, one of my favorite dudes. Well, one of my favorite dudes is Kim Bendix Peterson. Some of you may know him as King Diamond. That's right. King Diamond and Merciful Fate. Melissa turns 40 this year. This is the reissue on the, what is this? Yellow with black streaks vinyl color. Yeah, pretty cool. Sounds pretty good. You know, these albums weren't recorded. This album wasn't recorded the best. But, you know, what are you going to do? Merciful Fate, Melissa. I was born in the cemetery under the sign of the moon. That's right. I'm not gonna do my falsetto for you guys. Might scare my cats. All right, moving on. How can I talk about Merciful Fate without talking about these guys? Iron Maiden's Peace of Mind turns 40 this year. Phenomenal record. Love this is great. Critical acclaim. Fans love it. Iron Maiden's Peace of Mind. It's not my favorite of Iron Maiden. My favorite would be Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, followed by Somewhere in Time, probably. But this takes 4 or 5 on the favorite albums. Trooper, amazing stuff. Iron Maiden's Peace of Mind. And when I was looking at this, I thought this was pretty funny. This is something you don't see on these records that often. It's on sale there for $3.99. I didn't pay $3.99 for it, I'll tell you that. It's about 10 times that, actually. Moving along. So, it's me, and you guys know me, and I'm not going to talk about 1983 without talking about Metallica's Kill 'Em All. Now, this is not the 83 version. This is the 1988 club pressing of this. It has Blitzkrieg and Am I Evil on it. I managed to score this for quite cheap right before these things started going way up in the market. So, still on the lookout for that original Megaforce Kill 'Em All, of course, to complete the collection. And I even want that Walmart red one. The Jump in the Fire red. Jump in the Fire red. Jump in the Fire red. Anyway, yeah, Walmart, you know, what are you going to do? But anyway, Metallica's Kill 'Em All. What can I say about this record? This is probably the most purchased album of my entire history. I bought it countless times on tapes. I wore out tapes all the time. I've lost CDs. I've bought, I don't know, 3 or 4 vinyl copies of this. I mean, it's never going to stop. I'm going to spend my retirement buying copies of Kill 'Em All, as my friend Joshua says. All right, so yeah, that's it. 11 records that turn 40 this year. There are some special mentions that I just kind of grabbed last minute that I want to talk about. Some of my favorite records as well. We're just going to buzz through these real quick. Genesis and their Shapes record. Mama, Home by the Sea, That's All, Illegal Alien. I love this record. A lot of people do not dig this Genesis record. I think it's great. And it sounds really good too. And a record I've recently started listening to, and that's ABC's Beauty Stab. Not anything really like their first album, but the Lexicon of Love, but just a great record. I mean, Martin Fry, it's got that voice, that silky voice, that smooth, and his suits, fantastic. But yeah, so those are some albums that turned 40 this year. So a lot happened in 1983. It was a pretty cool year. There was some other stuff that I kind of made some notes of that happened in 1983. Movies, a lot of great movies came out in 1983. The Outsiders, Return of the Jedi, National Lampoon's Vacation, Terms of Endearment came out. Hey, it's Jack Nicholson, guys. Also, TV, you had Dallas. I remember all that stuff. Who Shot JR and all that. The A-Team, Magnum PI, Dynasty. And one of my favorite things to do when I was a kid was stay home from school and watch The Price is Right with Bob Barker. So I looked up an old Price is Right from 1983. He was still dyeing his hair. So it looked kind of strange. Bob Barker's still kicking it too. So there you go. Anyway, that's some stuff that turns 40 this year. So yeah, I was a little tight back then. Probably around 7 or 8 in 1983. So, very cool year. Lots of cool records. So anyway, thanks for hanging out. Did I miss anything? What did I miss? Was I wrong? Did some of this stuff suck? Let me know in the comments below, okay? And if you're not, go ahead and sub to Giza. Give him some watches, all right? Like, comment, do all that stuff. Yeah, do all the things that you do on YouTube videos. Anyway, we'll talk to you guys later. Have a great week. Peace. I love you all. Take care. Bye-bye.